2D Radio, yet another remote location broadcast. I'm Rob Brakeman. He's Brad Ryer. As we are here for the fan, we are by the fan. We're here to get you through these coronavirus-filled sportsless times. But Brad, we do have light at the end of the tunnel. We have golf announcing a June 11th projected restart. It looks like NASCAR is going to get going Memorial Day weekend. All this without fans by you. And of course, we have the NFL draft Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So, Brad, we got some sports to talk about. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brakeman. Frank Vesby produces the show. As always, the Sports Hounds are brought to you by Ambuck Services and Specialized Physical Therapy. Dr. Paul Vidal, 3 convenient locations. Visit specializedphysicaltherapy.com. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're on Periscope. All you podcast junkies, you can stream all the A2D content. Google Play, Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio. The takeover is real. A2D Radio is everywhere. Join the debate. We're the best in the business. Hashtag it, no notes. Brad, let's get right into it. We're going to be talking a lot of NFC East draft, a lot of big picture draft. We had the Michael Jordan documentary last night. But Brad, Corona times, we have real sports to talk about this week. The Giants pick 4th in the NFL draft. And Brad, your Giants, the poll question of the night, will the Giants go defense with their first pick? I'll kick it to you. Hashtag agree, hashtag disagree.
I disagree. I think they're going to go offensive line. That's what I keep.
Okay, you think that, but what would Brad do if he's the GM?
I would trade down. For sure. And
that seems almost inevitable that the Giants.
I would, because you know what, they're in a position where they could probably get an extra second round pick for that number 4, depending on how far down they go. I mean, you know, it would be foolish of them not to try to do that, because they're not one player away from being a title contender. So, you know, you got to build and get as many good young players in as possible. So if the opportunity presents itself, you know, unless Chase Young is available, you know, that might be the notable exception. But if he's not available, I would try to trade down. I mean, listen, you've got Tua and you've got Justin Herbert, 2 quarterbacks who are going to be in demand. Herbert probably more than Tua. And you know, a lot of these teams want to make sure they're going to have to jump ahead of the Dolphins or in the 5 hole. And the way to jump ahead of the Dolphins is to get the Giants spot. And they really kind of have the sweet spot. And if I were the Giants, I would exploit that. Because
do you have an offensive lineman that you like above the rest? Do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what they're saying about Wirfs. He sounds like just the kind of guy they need. Look, I know a lot of people are saying defense, and they definitely need defense, no question about it. But let's be honest, if they build up their offensive line and they can run the ball and control it a little bit, you know, that's a little less time the defense has to go on the field. You know, so if they try to limit the possessions, they're not going to give up as many points. You know, so I mean, if they can hold the other team scoreless on 3 possessions and there's only 7 in the game, you know, maybe they can, you know, only give up 28 points. You know, I mean, there's always that possibility that could happen, you know, or maybe they can keep the game in the mid-20s. I mean, at least they would have a chance. It's hard to win, you know, when the games they won, they scored 35, 38, and 38 to win their games. I mean, it's hard to win like that. No, 35, 38, and 41. I mean, it's hard to score that many points.
That's all they won is 3 games last year.
Well, they won 4. I'm trying to think what they when they beat the Redskins the first time. No, the first game was 24-3. I'm sorry. So that one, it was 24-3, but that was the Redskins who had
nada.
They had nothing that game. The last game of the season, they let Haskins play for a while, and Haskins actually was tearing the Giants up, but the Giants were tearing the Redskins up as well. But 3 out of the 4 wins, they scored 32 against Tampa, 35 against Miami, and 41 against the Redskins the second time.
All right, so I have my mock draft. I mocked out the whole first and second round of the draft, so I'll be dropping those tidbits in. I did not include trades in my mock draft, so take that for what it's worth. I mean, I'm not naive. I do know that there are going to be trades, but it's just too hard to predict, and I don't understand how these teams value these picks. I think they value them too much, to be honest with you. So I steered away from trades in the mock draft. At fourth, see, look, Joe Burrows he's a slam dunk #1 draft pick. That's easy.
Absolutely. That's an easy
And
one. But then it gets a little tricky because
no, I don't agree with you. I think you're trying to outsmart yourself into thinking that the Giants need the trade back. Because I don't think there's just going to be as much play for these quarterbacks as you think. I only have 2 quarterbacks going in the first round. I would not spend a first round pick on Tua. You can go ahead and roast me in the comments. That's all fine and good. And I'm not disputing Tua's talent. He's clearly a very talented young man, very athletic young man. I cannot spend a first round pick, let alone a top 10, top 5 pick on someone who has the injury history that Tua does. A dislocated hip, ankle. We've heard rumblings that his wrist is not okay. I can't do that. So I have Justin Herbert going 18th to the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I don't think Justin Herbert lasts that long.
I mean, you're probably right. There probably will be a trade, but I mean, if I'm the Dolphins, I want to get a solid, because I don't think Justin Herbert's a lock to be anything special. Joe Burrow is. So if I were the Dolphins, when I see a not quite a can't miss prospect in Justin Herbert, my goal if I'm the Dolphins with all their picks, I want to get as many pieces as I can. I want to get, maybe a tackle or a big time defender at 5, and then get my quarterback at 18, or get my quarterback in the second round, because you have this elephant in the room next year with Trevor Lawrence, who's going to be like a Peyton Manning level prospect, an Andrew Luck level prospect, an Elway level prospect.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a chance he could go into next year's draft, Trevor Lawrence, not ever having to lose a college game and having 3 national championships in the bag. So talking about, maybe one of the most decorated.
He did lose last year. I mean, he lost the championship game to LSU.
That's right, he did. So I
one loss is
one loss.
One loss in 2 years is pretty.
Point being is, I think there's going to be some shenanigans going on by some of these teams that suck to get Trevor Lawrence in their building next year. Whether that's the Dolphins, I think the Jaguars, the Patriots would be an outside shooter for that. But I'm not as enamored with Justin Herbert being a top 5 pick as most. I think the top 5 is pretty easy. Top 4 at least is pretty easy. You have Joe Burrow at the top. You have Chase Young, who's probably the best football player in the draft. Jeff Okudah. You just traded Darius Slay to the Eagles, so the Lions need to.
Yeah, no, I think Okudah is definitely
with Okudah, and then I see Isaiah Simmons out of Clemson being
or Tristan Wirfs. I mean,
Wirfs, but yeah, but I mean, I like
one or the other. I mean, listen, if you're asking me, I would prefer Simmons. I would prefer a defensive player.
I mean, 28 points a game from your defense last year. That's not going to get it. I don't care how many possessions you have to be on the field. 28 points a game means you don't have a very good defense, and you still, even though this is the age of throwing and the age of offense, you still need a competent defense to potentially.
I agree with you, but I do think their defense is going to be a little better. I think you could.
Blake Martinez and James Bradbury were very good additions, in my opinion. I'm also pretty impressed with the middle tier tackle crop. So I think the Giants can get a pretty good tackle at their second round pick, which is 4th overall in the second round. I don't think you can get a defender that's a dynamic like Isaiah Simmons at the 4th pick in the second round. What would be 35, 36?
Right.
I think it's the 36th pick. So
36. I mean, no, they're not going to do. That's not going to. That's not going to happen. I mean, I'm thinking that if one of these teams want one of the quarterbacks, and I don't know who it's going to be, but I mean, they could probably end up getting some of these guys. I mean, the funny thing today was all over the internet that the Giants were doing a lot of research on Justin Herbert. So I don't know. I think they're trying to.
That's such fabricated nonsense, though.
I know, but
Jones sixth.
They're trying. They're probably trying to blow some smoke up everybody's butt.
They want to force a trade so they can get. If there's a run on quarterbacks early, and you can get, I don't even know who would be moving in, besides Miami to draft Tua or Herbert. I mean, the Raiders, maybe. I don't know.
Jacksonville. I mean,
Jacksonville.
I mean, there's always the possibility with them too. I mean, who knows? That's the crazy thing about it. You just don't know. I mean, what about San Francisco possibly taking Tua and letting him sit for a couple of years while?
It comes out today that they want to move back.
Who, San Francisco?
Yeah, because they have 13, they have 32. And then they don't pick again until the 5th. So there's a lot of rumors that they're going to want to move back, which is perfect for the Philadelphia Eagles because 13th, that gets you higher up in the draft, gives you a better chance to get, one of these receivers that are so coveted in Ruggs and Lamb and Judy, and I like Jefferson as well. I have all those 4 receivers. None of them make it to the 15th pick. So if the Eagles want, according to my mock draft, if the Eagles want one of those big 4 receivers, they're going to have to move up the board.
You don't think they can get up to 16 and get one? Because I've been hearing going up to 16. That's been the
I mean, like I said, I did out my mock. I have CeeDee Lamb 6th to the Chargers. I have Jerry Jeudy 11th to the Jets. I have Ruggs 12th to the Raiders, and I have Justin Jefferson 14th to Tampa Bay. So
you think Tampa Bay is going to pick a receiver?
I think he's just too good to pass up there at 14. I mean, I think Justin Jefferson's a pretty good player. I think Tom Brady really likes his slot receivers and tight ends. That kind of puts a bow on the offense there, puts you in a real good shape to really score some points.
Well, they already have Evans, though. I mean, they're pretty solid.
They have Evans and Godwin, but neither of them run the slot. And
I understand that, but still, Brady's got plenty of weapons there. I mean, I
get it. It's a best player available selection.
Well, I think Tampa Bay needs a running back more than they need a receiver. To be honest with you, but
I'm not taking Swift or Dobbins at 14. I mean, look, I think Jefferson's too good to pass up for the Tampa Bay there at 14.
Listen,
I'd rather double down.
If you're gonna get Brady, that's you're not wrong about that. Who do we think is better between Lamb or Judy? I think Judy is better than Lamb. Just my opinion.
I would agree. They're different type receivers. Lamb is like a take the top off the defense guy, and Judy's more of a tactician.
Judy is like Art Monk used to be, the old Redskin guy.
Judy.
It's kind of what he's. I mean,
he gets so much. Him and Jefferson get so much separation on their routes.
They always
really unbelievable.
They always find a way to get open, and they're good. They're good. They're not dynamite fast, but they're fast enough. They're fast enough, and they run real good patterns, and they do get open, as you said. It depends on. I mean, with Mike Evans, you probably would want the possession guy more than you want the because Mike Evans is the one who can run past.
Yeah, I mean they're both pretty well rounded receivers, Mike Evans and Godwin.
I mean, yeah, that team offensively is pretty good. I mean, they weren't bad last year, even with Jameis Winston, but Jameis Winston just killed the team with all those turnovers.
Jameis Winston was a killer.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, let's get this out.
You can't have 30 interceptions; it's just too many.
Let's get into some comments here. We'll talk about the Redskins and the Cowboys. Touch on the Eagles. We're gonna mock draft. We're just kick around the draft, the order, the process in which they are going to do these picks. Did you see that they had tried to do like a virtual mock draft today, and the system went down on the first pick?
You're kidding.
No, the Bengals had problems submitting their pick or logging onto the system.
Oh, jeez.
So, I mean, is that what we're going to be looking at Thursday? A bunch of people who can't log on, and controversy with trades and whatnot.
Well, I didn't think of that. The trade, but I don't think the trades are going to be a problem.
No?
No, because I think they're going to be. They may give themselves a little extra time between draft picks too, just because of the whole computer thing.
Maybe I guess we'll see. I don't know. I just don't want to watch Thursday a whole bunch of computer glitches that just totally ruins the experience of the first sporting event I can watch in months. Not even that it's a sporting event. It's basically a televised fantasy football draft. So
pretty much.
I don't want to watch a whole bunch of computer glitches on Thursday. That would really disappoint and upset me. You check out our sponsors there in the comments. Let's get to some comments. We were talking about the Skins. We talked about the Cowboys. And, of course, the Eagles. I have the Giants drafting Isaiah Simmons at 4th. Brad likes an offensive lineman, it sounds like. Is that correct, Brad?
Wirfs. I think Wirfs is going to be the guy.
Okay, but is that who you would pick? Or you don't have a preference? You just want to see them draft?
If they get Wirfs or Simmons, I'd be just as happy. Either one, I'd be fine with.
Gongos 951. Yes,
I'd rather have a defensive player because I think their defense really needs to improve. But I've also heard Mekhi Becton too. He's the other tackle that they're talking about.
I have him falling hard in my mock draft.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. These guys like Becton who go to the combine and test through the roof, and then all of a sudden they're a top 10 pick. I don't know.
A guy from Louisville is not the guy I want in the first round, to be honest with you. I mean,
I have Becton. I have Becton plummeting.
Yeah, a lot of people have picked
Seattle.
Yeah, I would, as I said, I would hope that they would get Simmons. I mean, another team that could trade up, Rob, is the Los Angeles Chargers. They're another team that a lot of people seem to think are going to try to get in on Tua. I mean, that's another possibility for the Giants.
See, I have Tua mocked in my 2-round mock draft. I have him mocked to the Chargers, but not till pick 37. I don't have Tua as a first-round pick. I can't do it, folks. I'm sorry. The guy is fragile as glass, and for dynamic as he is, you can't be dynamic on injured reserve. It's impossible.
No, you can't. So, I've also heard, Rob, that the best defensive player, and a lot of people have been saying that their best defensive player this year might be Derek Brown.
I like Derek Brown a lot. If you remember, I ran down my top 5 prospect.
If the Giants picked him, I wouldn't be all that upset about it. I'd be quite okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It wouldn't be a bad pick because I think he can play either the nose tackle or the end position in your 3-4.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, the best thing about Derek Brown is he played all 4 years. I mean,
the guy that told. I mean, I talked about him last week. I think he's the 4th best player in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with
Simmons in my top 5, but I don't know. I see Simmons as a really good fit. You have Martinez, you have Simmons, you have Donnelly. That's a pretty good core of linebackers for your 3-4 scheme there. Plus Simmons can play everywhere.
Yeah, no, I know, and he can also rush the quarterback. I would take Brown, though. Brown wouldn't be a bad pick. If I trade down. I'm looking at.
You could take him at 4, and it wouldn't be a bad pick.
No, but if the Giants traded with the Chargers, that wouldn't. I mean, you're looking at the Giants. If the Giants trade with the Chargers, okay, and the 4th pick, they send the 4th pick to the Chargers, okay. that's a situation where they could move down, get an extra pick, and if they can't get Simmons, they could always get Brown, and they get an extra second round pick.
And then you can also rescind the franchise tag off of Leonard Williams. You just put right or no?
Well, they could do that anytime they want to do that, and they could
right. But if you get Brown, it makes it much easier.
Yeah, yes, it does, and they could also, if they do that, they also could try to go out and maybe try to sign a Clowney, because then they'd have about $30 million of cap space. So, that's
that wouldn't
actually they'd have $32 million in cap space if they did that. So
I have Brown 7th to the Panthers. So, but I mean, look, the you can mock draft till you're blue in the face. I like to have fun with my mock drafts. I don't like to copy and paste something and from NFL.com just for the sake of having a mock draft that makes sense and is right. My mock draft is fun and it makes sense based on my logic. So.
Absolutely. I mean,
all right.
You also have Jacksonville at 9, and I was talking.
They suck, man. The Jaguars, they're so bad.
They could move up. They're another team the Giants could trade with. Move down 5 spots and get a player.
They look like they're going to get Lawrence next year because they're going to win about. They'll be lucky if they win a game this year.
You don't think they're going to try to get Herbert?
I like Herbert. There's a lot.
I think he'd be a good fit down there.
There's a lot to like.
Get a chance to play. I mean, that's
4-year starter at a big time program. MVP of the Rose Bowl, MVP of the Senior Bowl. Athletic, tall. I mean, he looks like quite an athlete, but I don't know if he's worth mortgaging that much draft capital for. If you can get him without trading up, I think that I would be in on Herbert. I don't think I'm making a big move up the board for Justin Herbert. I just don't think he's that transcendent of a prospect.
Okay, well, I mean that's
my opinion.
Those are the teams that I could see possibly trade.
The Jags, they just need so much. They need so much help that just giving.
That's why I think they should trade down, because that way they could probably get it themselves an extra second round pick.
And now Fournette is apparently going to be out there. Yannick is in a Twitter battle with the owner Khan just today about because he wants out. They're a mess. They're an
they are.
You give Nick Foles $88 million. He wins 0 games, and you trade him 1 year into the contract. It's the Jaguars are a total disaster. I don't know how anybody can support that team. I don't know if there's been a bigger fall from grace than the Jacksonville Jaguar after almost representing the AFC in 2017 against the Philadelphia Eagles to just being a total disaster, talent-ridden organization. It's just unbelievable to me how mismanaged some of these NFL teams are. Hey, there's your buddy Murphy.
Yes, he is. Yes, the official sports hound.
I like it. I like it. What's he got? What's he got? A Giants jersey on there?
Nope, just his Ventnor shirt.
Just his Ventnor shirt?
Yes.
All right, Gongos wants to know what's happening. Antonio Garcia, what's good? What's up, fellas? Thanks for checking in. Kevin Godwin, disagree. One of many teams that need a wide receiver to give your young QB a real weapon. That's in regards to our poll question. So Kevin Godwin, you see him from Birds of a Feather every Tuesday night with Chucks and Chrome and Pete right here on A2D Radio. He thinks the Giants need a receiver.
No, I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think the Giants are going to have any problem scoring points.
I haven't heard that anywhere. I mean,
I read one. I forget.
I think there's a better chance.
It was on Bleacher Report. It was.
There's a better chance they get Odell Beckham back before they drafted another receiver.
Yeah, I saw one mock draft that had them take Henry Ruggs at 4.
I don't see that at all.
I believe it was Matt Tainer's mock draft on Bleacher Report. He had Henry Ruggs going to the Giants at 4th.
Listen, you've got Slayton
in the whole draft because
you've got Slayton, you've got Shepard, and you've got Golden.
I agree with you.
You've got Evan Ingram. You don't need to be taking a receiver in the first round. You've got a crappy offensive line. You got a crappy defensive line that you have to upgrade both of those areas. Those are the two areas of weakness with the Giants. If you're gonna draft on defense, if you get a linebacker who's good at blitzing and coming in and sacking the quarterback, i.e. Simmons, those are the kind of guys they'd have to get. Getting another wide receiver is not going to help them. An offensive lineman, yeah. If you're going to get a top offensive lineman in the draft, I'm not against that either, because then you can run Saquon Barkley, you can run Dion Lewis, you can keep the ball and you can keep the team, you can keep the other team, the defense off the field. That wouldn't be a bad move either. But as far as skill positions, Giants are fine at skill positions. They're pretty much at this point in time. There's no reason to do that. Maybe next year, I would think about it next year, bringing in a receiver, but not this year. And Golden Tate did a nice job last year for them.
Who's that?
Duffy did a nice job. Slayton was the surprise of the year. That's not really an issue for them.
Eddie Ritter, Ever Drake Show. Happy draft week. Gon goes, I pretty much think every NSA team should trade back. I mean, I think the Redskins and Giants should just sit there in the top 5 and just take Young, take Simmons.
That could happen. I mean, it wouldn't hurt either team for that to happen. No question. I'm kind of greedy. I'd like to see the Giants get an extra second round pick. Because I'm thinking another starting player on the team. That's all. Maybe get another offensive lineman.
Kevin Godwin, he's going to keep. Kevin Godwin, Giants will prove to be a thorn in the Eagles' side. Start the one receiver. No sense on moving back and risk not getting a true need. I mean, a receiver at 4 to the Giants would definitely make teams panic and might cause a bunch of receivers to come off the board maybe a little bit too early. I think all these receivers are really good players, meaning Ruggs, meaning Judy, meaning Lamb, and Jefferson. I think they're all really good players.
Look, as a Giant fan, I watched every week. Their defense killed them. Okay, and their offensive line was awful as well. And that was the offensive line was a real problem. I mean, Barkley, just think how good Barkley would be if he wasn't getting hit behind the line all the time. In 12 games last year, he still rushed for over 1,000 yards. Okay, and he was constantly hit behind the line. And he still was able to get his 1,000 yards. If he actually gets hit maybe 2 yards down the field, how many yards is he going to pick up? I mean, that could be worth an extra 300-400 yards over the season, and that could be.
Well, Saquon Barkley is a tremendous player,
right? If you give him room to run, that the Giants' offense becomes a lot more dynamic.
I mean, I like the linemen better. I like the linemen that I can get better late, offensive linemen better late than I can the dynamic, game-changing defensive talent.
Well,
that's my opinion of the player pool.
I right now I like them to improve their defense. That's what I would really truly like them to see. I've heard a lot of stuff, with Wirtz and I hope that's not the way they go. But again, I'm not going to complain if they draft an offensive lineman.
No, I
understand
significant.
Why. But a receiver, I just don't see it. I don't see the need for them to do that. I've seen your team on the warpath talking about possibly looking at Odell as a receiver. From getting him from the ground.
I mean, look, I'm gonna run through these comments and then I want to dive into some Eagles.
He's a dynamic player, and you put him on a good team with a guy like Wentz as a quarterback. He's going to be very good with your team if he played on your team. I don't like the fact that
I agree.
You put him on a good team. I really think that it would be the same thing. He would do. Do the same thing.
I want talent, and I'll always trade draft picks for established talent like Yannick, like an Odell Beckham Jr. I think Odell Beckham Jr. is a great fit with Carson Wentz, someone who's going to create separation, catch the ball, and have the chance to take it to the house. If I can get Odell Beckham in Philadelphia without giving up pick 21, I'm all in on that. I don't even have to think twice about it.
I mean, listen, Cleveland might be okay taking a second and taking a second.
Well, the can of worms that opened this, the can of worms that from Schefter that opened this Pandora's box for Odell Beckham is that Adam Schefter reported that a deal was extremely close for Odell Beckham Jr. to go to the Minnesota Vikings for a mere 2nd and 5th round picks.
There you go. I mean, you wouldn't do that if you were the Eagles?
Yeah, I'd give him
for Beckham. I would do that.
Eagles have 3 4th round picks, Brad. So I would give up my 53rd pick and one of my 4th round picks and get.
I mean, I would do that. I would do that.
Kind of trump the Vikings offer there.
Yeah, I would do that in a heartbeat if I'm the Eagles.
But I mean, Odell. Let me get this. But yeah, Odell Beckham.
Odell Beckham needs to be on a winning team because I mean he is a dog. He'll quit if he's on a bad team. But you put him on a good team like the Eagles with a quarterback like Wentz, he's got to shut up, Rob. He's always been complaining about his quarterback all the time. Okay, you put him with Wentz, he can't complain anymore.
Oh, I think Odell is just. I think he's just a pain in the ass.
I think he's frustrated because he wants to be. I think he wants to win, and I think that he realized.
Why do I feel like no matter what the situation, how many games he wins, how many passes or catches, how many touchdowns he gets, it's always going to be something with him.
Maybe. I mean,
I'll put up with it. Look, we put up with T.O. for a year. He was the biggest jerk off in the whole league. He came here for 1 year and they went to the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
That's what Odell Beckham Jr. would be to Carson Wentz. He would be that safety blanket.
Yeah, and the pressure
was for McNabb.
And can you imagine how many yards Ertz would end up getting? Because you couldn't double team Ertz anymore. You can't double team both Ertz and Beckham.
I couldn't agree more. Gonga
is a pretty damn good tight end too. I mean, that would completely change the whole dynamic of your offense.
You need a receiver. A
receiver like that would be huge. That would be.
You need a receiver so bad, but you can get it with that trade scenario, which is why I like it. You still have 21.
Yeah, you still get to keep your 1st round pick. I mean, the Browns aren't asking for a 1st round pick, and they can't get a 1st round pick for him because because of the money situation. But the Browns, even if they trade him, they're going to be stuck with a lot of his money on their salary cap. So I mean, it's still if you're getting him, you'd be getting him at a discount, and you wouldn't have as far as price and as far as draft picks. So remember, the Browns traded basically 2 firsts and a 3rd for Beckham because if you count
plus players,
Jabril Peppers was a 1st round pick. Okay.
Right. Okay. So that's how you're okay.
Yeah. So I'm looking at they basically 2 firsts and a 3rd. I mean, that's good value. Yeah.
And the Eagles have $27 million in cap space. Cap space not an issue.
Well, that's the whole point. That's why I think they would be. I think they would if they're giving up their 2nd and their 4th, and they've got more than 1 4th. Why not? Why not? That's a guy that could put you over the edge.
Established talent over draft picks.
Every
day.
Admit it, but you'd be a very, very, very dangerous team at that point.
Yeah, then maybe you use 21 to go get Yannick, and then you come out of the.
Just think how it would set up. Just think how it would set up the running game for you guys.
But I mean, if you come out of the draft, these 3 days of drafting with Odell Beckham Jr. and Yannick somehow, I mean, that makes you. I keep saying the Eagles aren't legitimate contenders right now as constructed. They need 2 to 3.
That would obviously change.
There's your 2 impact players. That would make.
You're putting
Super Bowl contender.
You're putting 2 Pro Bowl level players on your team. I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean, they're pretty good as it is. Okay, I think
they're pretty good. Yeah, the Eagles are pretty good.
They're pretty good right now. They need that jolt on offense. They need someone who's going to legitimately scare the crap out of you, and not just the quarterback. They need that one guy that's. I mean, like New England. I mean, Brady had Gronk for a lot of those years. He also had Corey Dillon at the beginning, and then he had Troy Brown, and he had Randy Moss. So I mean,
Deion Branch, Edelman towards the end.
He always had somebody that was really good until last year. Last year, he really didn't have any receivers. I mean, Sanu is not a number one receiver.
No,
but
I think that's part of the reason he's in Tampa. And
absolutely.
All right, getting more of these comments. Maybe Dallas stay put if CJ Henderson is available. That's from Gongo's 951. Yeah, I have CJ Anderson going 9th to the Jaguars. So I have CJ Henderson long gone before the Cowboys pick at 17. Chris Estrite, oh no, 2 Giants fans said watch party over. I'm not a Giants fan. I'm an Eagles fan. Brad's a Giants fan, so there's only one Giants fan here.
Yeah, make it. Let's get things straight, guys.
Kevin Godwin, I agree with Rob for once. Tua can drop out to the second. I don't know why everyone always disagrees with me all the time. I say a lot of smart stuff.
Well, I didn't disagree with you yesterday about that. That could happen. I mean, listen.
I just put out a mock draft that's fun and not copy and pasted from NFL.com, and everyone wants to be Facebook GM and just rip my mock draft apart, which is fine. I don't care. I like being a lightning.
People do get a little carried away with some of this stuff. I see that, and I'm like, geez, okay,
Wayne Anthony Thompson, Tua could be a Lion. I guess he could be.
If the Lions decide to go that way, I mean,
look, I think Matthew Stafford's a pretty good quarterback. I know he was hurt last year for the first time in his whole career, but I think Matthew Stafford's a really good player that's just fallen victim to the Lions just not really knowing what to do as a franchise. I mean, they can never seem to get it right. Gongos, I still think the Dolphins should ignore quarterback this year and go for broke on Trevor Lawrence. That's certainly a strategy.
The thing is, though, they have 3 first-round picks this year.
So they have 4 picks in the top 40.
Okay, so let's say just for the sake of argument that Herbert's gone, and they don't want to draft Tua because they're afraid of his injury history. Okay, and obviously Burrow's gone. What about Jordan Love?
See, look, I like a lot of these quarterbacks. I think this is a good quarterback crop.
I pick 18,
I think
not the early picks.
Well, 18. I have 18th. I have Herbert going to Miami. So I like the quarterback crop. I think there's a lot of good ones that could potentially be starters, but like looking at my mock here, like Jacob Eason from Washington, I have him going to Indy at 34. I have Tua going 37 to San Diego. I have Love going to the Bucks in the second round. I have Jalen Hurts going to the Titans in the second round. So I think a lot of teams are going to draft quarterbacks this year. They're going to have them sit down behind established starters, and they're going to have to wait their turn. I have Jake Fromm going in the third round to the New Orleans Saints. So I don't have the Patriots drafting a quarterback at 23, and I don't really have them. I think they load up on their defense and try and play for Lawrence. And I think the Dolphins, I think you go with Fitzpatrick. Maybe you get one of these developmental guys that I just said, but I think you have 4 picks in such a deep draft in the top 40. I think you just knock off needs and then worry about quarterback later. I'm a big believer in getting the entire nucleus of the team established first and then going for broke on a quarterback. Because if you give up all your draft assets for, a top-notch quarterback like Tua.
As far as that goes, it depends what you're.
Yeah, but Brad, then you have Justin Herbert or Tua and then nothing else. How does that help the kid?
Well, you still have to get some experience. Not that many guys just come right into the league and blow it away the first year. I mean, there is a learning curve, so you want to get the guys some reps. I mean, you don't want to have.
I mean,
You don't
yes
want to
and
have
no. I mean, Daniel Jones started pretty quick. Carson Wentz started from day one.
right, right.
Guys like Brady didn't have to. Peyton Manning started from day one. Dan Marino started from day one. John Boy started
And
from
don't
day one.
forget, Peyton Manning was, I think, 1-10 in his first 11
I think
games.
Joe Burrow is going to start from day one. All
I agree with that. I think
due respect to Andy Dalton, and maybe he starts. Maybe they go with Dalton first, but they went with Eli in New York last year for a hot minute, a quick New York minute before Daniel Jones got given the reins. So maybe it's a scenario like that. But boy, Joe Burrow is quite a prospect.
Yeah, he is. He is. And if the Cincinnati receivers, mainly AJ Green, stay healthy, I think Joe Burrow could have something there. But they really need AJ Green to stay healthy.
Dolphins also have 2 first rounds and 2 first and second rounders next year. They could also trade for another first next year. So the Giants or the Dolphins are loaded up on picks. So
yeah, but they also have a very bad team. So they have a lot.
They did have a shopping spree in free agency. They got some good players.
Yes, they did. But again,
they might have the best corner tandem in the whole league.
Who are their corners now?
Xavier Howard and Byron Jones.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
So I mean,
they need a pass rush.
And I like their coach. I do like their coach. I like that Flores guy from New England.
Yeah, and they could always go with. They're not going anywhere next year anyway. They could always go with Fitz for the year and wait and draft.
Yeah, I think they could win 6 games. 6 games would be a fair.
If they go with Fitz, yeah. If they're gonna put that scrub in, what's his name, Rosen?
Yeah, no, he stinks.
Yeah, then I don't think they're going to win 2. I think they win 3 or 4 games again. But maybe they will. That's always a possibility if they plan to tank again and try to get Dexter Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence.
I'm sorry. Dexter Lawrence is on the Giants. My bad. Trevor Lawrence.
Jake Friel, what's up, boys? He disagrees with the poll. He thinks the Giants need to address their offensive line.
As I said, either the offensive line or the defensive line, but they either address your pass rush or fix that offensive line. Get yourself a stud for Barkley to run behind. Keep the ball on your offense. Keep the ball away from the other team's offense. Try to control the ball a little bit more this year. That way you don't have to. That way the defense won't be on the field as much. And if they're a little more
hours, you guys think we trade up or settle outside Lamb or Judy? I'm assuming that's an Eagles question. I'm not moving up the board if I'm the Eagles. I'm not spending draft capital to get CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Judy. So I don't think the Eagles are going to get Jefferson. I don't think the Eagles are going to get Ruggs. I don't think the Eagles are going to get Judy. I don't think the Eagles are going to get Lamb. I think those guys are going to be long gone by pick 21. The Eagles need a receiver. I have mocked it at pick 21. The receiver at TCU, Jalen Reagor. He's really fast, Brad.
Then he'd be a good selection then.
I also think that his production was hurt by having bad quarterback play at TCU.
Well, here's a question for you. You think the Eagles could go defense? I mean, they could use.
They could. I think they absolutely could.
Do you think they could draft a safety to replace Malcolm Jennings? That's Malcolm Jenkins. I'm sorry. You think they would do that?
I like Grant Del Pitt a lot. From LSU, I like Patrick Queen. I like Kenneth Murray. They're linebackers that have LSU and Oklahoma.
That guy on Alabama was pretty good too.
Xavier McKinney.
Yeah, he was pretty good too. He might be somebody that might want to. They might. I mean, Alabama guys always seem to play.
Yeah, I mean,
you know.
he's just a different type of safety than Del Pitt. Del Pitt's kind of like a deep cover safety. He's really good at coverage, whereas McKinney seems like he's more of a banger towards the line of scrimmage. I'd rather have the deep safety guy because I have Jalen Mills and I have Rodney McLeod to fill that role as the other safety. That's the only reason I like Del Pitt over McKinney. But, I mean, there's edge rushers. There's a guy named A.J. Espenza from Iowa that I think is a complete beast. I have him going 25th to the Vikings. There's a defensive end from Penn State, Yetter Matos, Gross Matos.
Yeah, he's a good play. He's an edge rusher, isn't he?
Yes, he's a 4-3 end that I think would maybe start over Barnett right away.
Espinoza is also an edge rusher.
Yeah, he's another 4-3 defensive end. So the Eagles have options. I think there's a lot of good players in this draft. More so than other years. So I don't want to rule anything out, but boy, you have to do right by your franchise quarterback. You have to do right by him and get him a weapon. So Rager might be a little bit of a reach at 21, but I don't care. I want to get my receiver. He's also the type of receiver that I think fits well with Carson. Carson seems to like these burners, these smaller burners that can create a lot of separation, as opposed to the big jump ball receivers like Alshon Jeffrey. So that also goes
again. Another thing with the Eagles. Don't forget, you're going to get Deshaun Jackson back, so you'll have a speed.
Yeah, but how long am I going to have Deshaun Jackson for next year before he gets hurt? When am I going to have Alshon Jeffrey?
Yeah, well,
I don't think I can go through, and I don't think it's an extreme disservice to have your franchise quarterback with Greg Ward as his best receivers. I know you have Miles Sanders, who's a good-looking running back, and I know you have the tight ends that we talk about and love so much, and Ertz and Goddard, but you need guys on the outside that can make plays for you.
Well, yeah, that's why I was talking about Beckham, Rob.
Yeah.
Beckham would be perfect for that team.
If you can pry him away without giving up pick 21, that's an absolute.
Yeah, I mean, if they were talking about the second, and now maybe the Vikings wanted to give up the second and the fifth. I mean, I don't know. I can't believe the Vikings wouldn't trade a second and a fifth for.
Well, Schefter said that deal was dead, so it was just rumors.
Okay. Well, all I'm saying is, if the Browns said no, then I could believe that. I can't believe the Vikings would say no to that. I mean, I know Beckham is a pain.
No, because there's rumors now that Odell Beckham Jr. and Baker Mayfield don't get along.
No.
So, I mean, it's a mess. Cleveland's a mess.
Well, listen, I told you that was going to be a problem with them. They had too many egomaniacs on that team. Yeah, too many big mouths. You can't have that many big mouths on one team.
All right, you ready? You ready for a trivia question?
Sure.
All right, Bob Brankman checks in with a trivia question about the draft. So as a QB, I didn't start a single game in college, but was drafted by the Pats in round 7 of the 2005 draft.
2005.
So as a quarterback, I didn't start a single game in college, but was drafted by the Patriots in round 7 of the 2005 draft. I think I know the answer to this.
Is that Matt Castle?
I believe you are correct. I believe it is Matt Castle. I believe he served as I believe he was a career backup at USC.
Yeah, am I wrong?
Still managed to get drafted. That's how good those USC teams were.
Am I right about that?
In that era. I don't know. I'll have to scroll down and look at the other comments. Antonio Garcia, no way the Chargers are going receiver at 6. I disagree, Antonio. I have CeeDee Lamb going 6 to the Chargers.
They could go quarterback too.
I don't know. I see the Chargers as a loaded roster. Like
I think they do need a quarterback though.
I mean, outside of quarterback. Just look at
the rest of the team
completely loaded.
Absolutely.
Tyrod Taylor's take. I mean, I know he's not. He's not Patrick Mahomes. I understand that he's not Lamar Jackson, but he is a dual threat guy. He started games.
Listen, if you're going to try to do the RPO with him, he'd be very effective in that system.
But this is why I like one of these developmental quarterbacks that I mentioned earlier in the show. I like one of them to go to San Diego. You sit behind Taylor. Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Chargers could easily make the playoffs with Tyrod Taylor as their starting quarterback.
If Taylor brought Buffalo to the playoffs.
If they get a talented impact player at pick 6, I mean, Tyrod Taylor could easily lead the Chargers to the playoffs in what I think's an extremely weak AFC, and you get an extra playoff team this year.
A lot of the guys are looking at Queen as the Eagles.
Yeah, that's Ralphie's boy. I mean, I like Murray over.
Linebacker. Do the Eagles need a linebacker? I guess they do need a linebacker.
They definitely need a linebacker.
Yeah, they need a linebacker.
The Eagles don't have bad linebackers, Brad. The Eagles don't have any linebackers. They don't have any linebackers to speak of that are on the roster, which is kind of the MO of the Howie Roseman era. It's just not a valued position. Let me ask you. Do the Giants have positions like that? Does Gettleman have positions like that he tries to just scrape by with without investing a lot of money or a lot of big draft capital in?
Seems like the defense.
Yeah,
what happens? I mean, he's been trying to draft defensive players, and he never spent any money on the defense. Now this year he did, so we'll see what happens. But he's kind of skimped on the offensive line, with the exception of the number 2 pick they had a couple of years ago, Hernandez.
Well, I mean, he tried to get Soldier, it just didn't work out.
Yeah, so he hasn't really skimped on any particular.
I'm just curious because it seems like every offseason the Eagles need linebackers, and the Eagles always find a way to not invest in the position. And I was just wondering if other teams think like that about other positions.
No, honestly, the Giants have tried to go at almost every position Gettleman has tried to fill in. He has. I can't say he hasn't. He just hasn't done a very good job. That's really what it boils down to.
Well, he's like the opposite of our guy Howie. He does good at the draft, but not so good at the free agents.
Right. The free agents. He's had a miserable time with free agent offensive linemen. I mean, who was that? Who was that guy they got from Jacksonville, or was it Tampa Bay a couple of years ago? He was terrible. Omega or something like that. I can't remember his name.
I don't know.
Ron Perlis. They got him last year. I mean, he's 100 years old. I don't know what the purpose of getting him was.
Now, the Eric Flowers disaster. That was a Jerry Reese.
That was Jerry Reese. I mean, most of the Reese guys are gone, and that was definitely the right thing to do. Jerry Reese did sign a couple of pretty good defensive players. I mean, Jenkins, while he was here, was pretty good until last year when he just decided he didn't want to play anymore.
Right.
For whatever reason, and
well, you guys sucked.
But you gotta play. I mean, you're making $13 million.
Well, I mean, the guy's a loser. I mean, the guy's a punk. He's always been a punk.
Yeah, play the game. I mean, Snacks Harrison was a pretty good player for them for a couple of years. He got rid of all the Reese guys, whether it was right or not. JPP probably, if you look back at that move for a 3rd round pick, was a bad trade because JPP has come back and played pretty good football.
I think the Eagles trade for the Niners' 31st pick. Eagles draft Queen and T. Higgins in round 1.
Mm-hmm.
One way to go about it. So what? Joseph Harakovsky. So you have the Eagles taking. I guess he would take Queen at. So he has one of them going at 21, and then them trading back into the first round of 31 to take the other. I mean, I do have T. Higgins as a second-round pick. That's not the worst scenario in the world there, Joe. I wouldn't be complaining at that. Addresses two needs. I do think Kenneth Murray is better than Patrick Queen slightly, but
Well, he's not. He's obviously a.
I have a linebacker in the second round that I'm looking at that just looks like an absolute beast. His name's Malik Harrison from Ohio State. 6'4", 250, can really finish. Just a tough Big Ten linebacker. I think that'd be a good pick for the Eagles just to solidify middle linebacker in the second round. Taylor Bowers, honestly, if the Birds take Lamb, Judy, Queen, or Murray, I'm not complaining. The Niners don't have a 2 through 4 round picks. They are shopping their first rounders. Eagles get the 31st overall. But yeah, they could. Would be great. I think Douglas would at least have to be in there. Yeah, Eagles. Rasul Douglas is not getting traded. Rasul Douglas is going to eventually get cut because he's just not good.
I mean, if you look at the receivers,
Rasul Douglas. I mean, he's all over Twitter about like he's Deion Sanders about I don't get it.
Yeah, the receivers, Rob. I think they're going by 15, 16 at the latest.
So like I said, I have the big four going. I have Jefferson at 14th, and then they're going. That's why I have Rager at 21 to the Eagles.
Yeah, the big four are probably going to be gone at that point.
Shit through an Alshon and trade as well. I mean, Alshon's not getting traded, folks. He's not getting traded. No one's going to take on that money. Why would you take on that money for a player who's not even healthy? He's
and
you got to hope he gets his ass healthy. You got to hope he keeps his mouth shut. And you got to hope he's productive for Carson.
Yeah, but he's also a big salary cap hit. Who would want to?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's
salary cap hit and get a guy who's going to be hurt most of the season. I mean, nobody's going to do that. You're stuck with him.
Gongo's 951. Redskins should offer 2 to the Jags and Yannick and 9.
Why would they do that and then have to pay?
I don't know. That's just not a feasible.
No, they're not doing that. The Redskins are going to draft. Well, if the Redskins are going to keep Young, if it's a choice of Young or do that, I would take Young and hope that he becomes that kind of a player and save the money and use the money on somebody else. I mean, that's a financial move. You don't have to do that.
What's up, fellas? I disagree to the poll. I love Simmons, but he's positionless in the NFL currently. I'd go offensive line if I'm Giants, unless Okuda drops. That's from Greg Malakovic.
I
hear him because I hear the Eagles drafted.
There's a player like that with the Chicago Bears drafted, who was supposedly positionless. Do you remember one Brian Urlacher?
Yes.
Okay. They said the same thing about him. And he was not positionless. He ended up being a Hall of Fame level player. So, I mean,
he is in the Hall of Fame. Yeah,
I said he's a Hall of Fame player. Brian Urlacher, if you remember, I don't know if you remember him as far as when he was drafted, but
he was drafted. I forget what year he was drafted in, but
it was like the early 90s.
He was a safety in college.
Right, but they thought that he was too slow to be a safety in the NFL.
Right, so they put him at linebacker. He became a beast.
And they thought they didn't think he was tough enough to be a linebacker, but he was, and he was really good. And he could drop back to play safety. He made that defense really good when he was out there because he could play all those different positions, and you could put him in all different kinds of situations, and that can help. I mean, that's something that the Giants could definitely use Simmons for, is to put him in different spots on the football field, and then you don't know where he's coming from.
Right, but ultimately I think Simmons is a linebacker with the ability to cover a tight end and a running back out of the backfield. Maybe
can he run like that?
I mean, yeah, he's like a 4.5 40 guy. I mean, he's all over the screen on Clemson games.
Yeah, I mean, Taylor was like that too. Taylor could run real fast too. That was part of the allure of him. I mean, If Simmons can run like that,
But if I'm drafting Simmons at 4 with the Giants, I'm taking him to rush the passer first and foremost.
yeah, and as a linebacker, he can basically line up wherever he wants. He can go inside, middle, or outside, and it would be very hard for them to.
And I hear what Greg's saying about hybrids, because the Eagles are notorious for drafting these hybrid players that never really work out. But none. I don't think I've ever seen a hybrid the pedigree of Isaiah Simmons before. So I mean,
well, again,
I just like that. I like that.
He's an athlete, Rob. He's an athlete. I think basically you could put him almost anywhere on the field, and I think he'd be representative. He could represent himself pretty well. I mean, he may not be an all-pro in some parts of the field, but I think he can be competitive at almost every position. So that's an advantage that they would have. I mean, obviously, you'd want to line him up in the best position for him to be successful. But the fact that you could hide him in different spots in the field would be an asset for them defensively. They need something like that. They are in desperate need of a dynamic defensive player, without a doubt. I mean, they need a leader out there defensively. They just don't right now. They don't have one. Maybe Blake Martinez becomes that guy. I mean, that's what we're all hoping for. But
right, Eagles should have traded Ertz in a 4th rounder for DeAndre Hopkins. I mean,
no,
that ship has sailed, my friend. I'm over that. But
trading Ertz for Hopkins, how does that help?
Well, it helps the Eagles because you still have Goddard and you get the best receiver in the league.
Yeah, but Ertz, but I mean, you're basically taking a 9 and you're getting a 10 for a 9. I mean, to me that's not really an upgrade. You want to trade from another position to try to get Hopkins.
I understand.
You want to have all 3 of them out there. That's what would make your team better. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to get Hopkins, you don't want to trade Ertz. You want to keep Ertz.
Yeah, I hear you.
It only to make a move like that only makes your team. I mean, it makes it better. Don't get me wrong, but it's only marginally better. I mean, to really, really get better, that's what you need to do. It's just like you can't trade Ertz for Beckham. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That wouldn't make sense either. You want to have them both. That's how you become dynamic.
Bob Brinkman wants to know what's going to happen with Trent Williams. Obviously, the offensive tackle out of former Pro Bowl offensive tackle for the Redskins. He wants out of there.
Well, he wanted out of there last year, and they wouldn't move him. So, I mean, he's still in limbo. I mean, he could be a draft day. He could be a draft day trade as well. I could see that happening.
Perhaps maybe the Giants make a move for him. There's no way the Redskins are going to get anything for him.
I don't see the Redskins
there for years.
I don't see the Redskins and the Giants doing business, Rob. That would be.
That's a good point. Bryce Blackwell, this is the most important draft in Eagles history.
Those are 2 organizations that hate each other.
Yeah. Most important draft in Eagles history. I'd relax on that. It's an important draft, but I mean, in history, let's relax. Jordan Love is a good man.
When you're 4-10, 4-12, 3-13, then it's an important draft because you're trying. You got to get your
Eagles they're in the playoffs every year, so they're clearly doing, as much as I criticize them, they're clearly doing something a little bit right. I mean, well, Eagles need 2 wideouts. Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. The Eagles do need 2 wideouts. They'll get 2 wideouts out of this draft. Eagles need to come out of this draft at some point with a linebacker. I agree. That's from Dion Brown. Anthony Addis. Lions make the trade, pick the Chargers for Tua. Rager or Murray to the Eagles. J.R. Reed, that's in one of my sleeper safeties. That's from Anthony Addis. Dion Brown, if the Eagles go defense, they should get the best linebacker on the board. Taylor Bowers thinks Kenneth Murray is a game changer. I like Kenneth Murray a lot. What do you think of the Eagles targeting Steve Robinson, DN out of Texas Tech? 617 report. I don't know much about IMBI. I mean, I've been engrossed in these prospects for weeks upon weeks during this quarantine. I have never heard of that guy from Texas Tech.
No, me neither. Me neither. I don't think that's Bryce Blackwell thinks that Adams might get traded. That's a possibility. I mean, I don't see the Jets doing that. I think he's the basically he's the face of the franchise, but he's been unhappy. He wants to win. He's getting tired of losing. So you got to watch that situation.
He might be the best safety in the league, though. I mean,
no, I realize that he's really a good player, but I mean,
we got the trivia question right. It was Matt Castle.
Yeah, ding ding.
Ralphie wants Patrick Queen at 21. That's Ralphie Delavecchio, esteemed producer here at A2D, also a member of The Fix, which airs Wednesday at 6 p.m. right here on A2D Radio. He's been on that train for weeks. Wouldn't be a bad pick, Ralphie. I have Patrick Queen on the board at 21 in my mock draft. I have them passing on Patrick Queen in favor of Jalen Reagor. I have Patrick Queen going 24th to the New Orleans Saints. As an Eagles fan, I can't have another DK Metcalf situation. Yeah, Taylor, you got to let DK Metcalf go, man. You got to let it go. They didn't draft A.J. Brown. They didn't draft DK Metcalf. They got J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. You got to hope he turns it around. You can't play these what-if games with the draft because every team has them where what if they didn't pick this bust and pick this Hall of Famer that went right after him? I'm sure the Giants, you can play that game with the Giants. You can play that game with
absolutely.
the Redskins, the Eagles, the Cowboys, all the teams.
Listen, we were playing that game all summer last year about drafting Daniel Jones instead of picking that guy Allen that ended up on who was it, Jacksonville or Tampa Bay?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, I mean, and we were mad about it, but Jones was pretty good. So, you have to let everything play out. I mean, I would not have thought Jones would have played as well as he did last year. I was pleasantly surprised by him. And it seemed like last year, even in preseason, Jones was playing well. So it looked like he looks like he's got a chance to be a really good quarterback. We'll see. I mean, he's got to take a little bit of a jump this year. He's got to stop fumbling the ball, but he's pretty good at avoiding interceptions. He's deceptive. He can run. He looks like a leader to me. So we'll see how that goes. But listen, you're always going to get guys that you draft that ends up not being what you anticipate. We'll see what happens.
Taylor Bowers wants Ralphie to join the video. Ralphie is more than welcome to join the video anytime he wants. We have an open door policy on the Sports Hounds for any of our producers or on-air talent to join the program. So,
by the way, I do have a little bone to pick with Tom.
Why? What did he do?
Saturday they were talking about the biggest rivalries in sports, and
did he disrespect your Yankees Red Sox?
He's trying to tell me the Eagles and Dallas are the biggest rivalry and are a bigger rivalry than the Yankees and the Red Sox. And
that's completely ridiculous.
I mean, listen, in Philly, yes, but nothing personal, guys.
I don't even think the Cowboys are the Eagles' biggest rival.
The Eagles are not the Cowboys. The Eagles are not the Cowboys' biggest rival. The Cowboys' biggest rival, and I hate to say this because we hate them too, but their biggest rival is the Redskins, guys.
Yeah, Cowboys and Indians, oil and water.
It always has been, and it always will be.
I can't stand the Giants. I can't stand that blue. I couldn't stand that loser Coughlin. I couldn't stand that idiot Eli. They had that jabroni Plaxico Burress that shot himself. They had that idiot Lawrence Taylor. Like, I can't stand the Giants.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, listen,
the Cowboys fans just paint them in such a bad light because most of them are just complete jabronis.
They are, but honestly,
jabronis.
I just couldn't stand the Cowboys just because I had to watch Roger Staubach rub it in our faces in the '60s when we were a terrible, terrible football team.
I mean, I hate the Cowboys too. Don't get me wrong. That star makes me sick to my stomach, but just something about New York gets my blood boiling just a little more than Dallas. And that's always been my opinion.
That's kind of how we feel about Boston, so I get that.
All right, we got another trivia. You ready for another trivia question?
Sure. I got 1 for 1.
We're both 1 for 1.
Yeah.
Okay. As an NFL head coach, what was the first team Bill Belichick led to the playoffs?
As a coach?
As a head coach.
As a head coach. Okay.
I believe he went to the playoffs with Cleveland, I believe.
No, I don't think Cleveland ever made the playoffs. I would say New England. I think he was a total bust in Cleveland.
Well, they had a good team, but then they moved the team and it derailed everything. That's a great 30 for 30.
Yeah, I mean,
ESPN documentaries, the 95 Browns. Maybe it's a football life. It's
think I'm
it's
thinking that
phenomenal.
it was. I'm thinking that it was New England. I don't think he made the playoffs with the Browns.
I think he might have.
I mean, as a defensive coordinator, he made it with the playoffs with the Giants and the Jets. And then the Jets promoted him to head coach, but then New England stole him. And they had that whole mess, and then the Jets went and stole Parcells.
And then Ralphie thinks that Queen is the second best linebacker. Patrick Queen, great sideline guy and an elite coverage guy.
Might be. He might be.
Patrick Queen. I think Patrick Queen has.
He's going to go in the 20s. I think that's been pretty much
burst.
Where everybody.
He's got a great burst and he's got great play recognition.
Everybody seems to think he's going in the 20s, though. So I mean, he probably will be there for the Eagles if that's the direction they decide to go.
Ray Rivera, I think the Giants should get Chase because if he goes to Washington, he's going to be a nobody. I mean, look.
Yeah, but the Giants don't have the choice.
Writing's on the wall with that pick. That's the most no-brainer. Him and Burrow are the two most no-brainer picks in the whole draft.
Yeah, but what do you think? I mean, how are the Giants supposed to get young? Are they going to trade up? Are they going to trade up with the Redskins and give up a second?
No, I think you just if there's a run on quarterbacks and he's there at 4 somehow, then you.
Yeah, that's the way it can happen, and that's
all.
The hope can happen. But I mean, I'm putting the I hope that happens scenario, and it could, but. I mean, realistically, I don't see that happening. Just don't. I mean, I hope it does. Be nice if it did, but you have to be realistic. The odds of that happening are not with the Giants, unless the only way the Giants can guarantee themselves young is if they trade up for him.
There you go. Tom just checked into the chat, Brad.
Okay, good.
Maybe I don't know if he heard you air his grievance, but if
he may have.
I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in Tom if he really said that. I must have missed that show. I didn't see a Greatest Rivalry show, so I must have been preoccupied.
I heard Florida State. I mean, come on, against the Yankees and Red Sox guys. I mean, just look at the ratings. I mean, the fact that the teams play 19 times and probably 16 of the 19 games are on national TV, and the only time they're not on national TV is because sometimes there's games during the week. A Tuesday night or a Thursday night. They just don't have. They don't have games of the week those nights. I mean, but come on. I mean, it's not even close. It's not even close. That's a rivalry that's been going on since the 20s.
And the answer to the trivia question was the Browns.
The Browns, okay. I didn't think he made the playoffs with the Browns, but
yes, okay. I believe it was 1994. He won 11 games and they made the playoffs.
Okay. Was that the year that they beat the Jets in that crazy game? Or was it no, that was it. That was another year. That was in the 80s. I was thinking about the game where Gastineau roughed the quarterback and lost the game for the Jets.
And then Joseph Horofsky, he checks in. Yankees, Red Sox 1, Avalanche, Red Wings 2. That hasn't been a rivalry in years.
Canadians, Maple Leafs.
Cowboys 3.
Canadians, Maple Leafs. Actually, right now in the NHL, the biggest rivalry, and I hate to say this because probably most people don't care or don't realize it, is the Edmonton Oilers and the Calgary Flames. If you want to see a bloodbath game, you put those two on, you're guaranteed to have at least 2 or 3 good fights. And cheap shots galore and a lot of scoring. That they hate each other. I don't know what the deal is with. I don't know. Maybe the water isn't good in that end of Canada, but they hate each other.
Dax Kruger, what do you think the Giants should take or do in the draft? Brings the conversation full circle.
Well, back to that. I think they should go defense. And
I think Simmons is perfect for
Simmons would be a good player for them, no doubt. Derek Brown.
Yeah, that's a defense. I think
he'd be
28 points a game. That's just unacceptable.
No, I mean, I think either one of those guys. I think either one of those guys would be good. I think they could get either. I think they could probably get Brown at 6 or at 5 or 6 if they trade down. And I think the same might go for Simmons as well if they're lucky enough to be able to move down and get an extra pick. If one of the quarterback desperate teams such as Miami or the Chargers or Jacksonville, if they go in there and try to grab somebody, it's always it's always a possibility that could happen.
All right, so Redskins seems like Dallas. Dallas at pick 17. They have a lot of holes. I think they get an upgraded coach, but everything else, I mean, I'm not really a fan of what's going on down there. McCarthy's better than Garrett. That's a given, but you lose Byron Jones. You give Amari Cooper $100 million, and you're starting.
I'm thinking probably along the lines of like Henderson.
I have him long gone by then. I have them taking Cesar Ruiz, an interior lineman out of Michigan. He can play.
Yeah, I think they might go for another corner and try to get some depth there. I mean, they obviously they suffered a significant loss. They picked up somebody else, but I mean, I could see them going with a young player out there. I mean, the thing is in the NFC East, you don't really have game breaking receivers on any of those teams. So I don't know that it's a top priority right now. But if the Cowboys, if they make the playoffs and they want to go anywhere in the playoffs, then they're going to have to deal with guys like Michael Thomas, and some of the other real top receivers that are definitely going to be in there. You're going to deal with Green Bay's crew, and they've got a whole load of good receivers led by Devontae Adams. I mean, they're going to be there, and they're going to be very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, and I love C.J. Henderson. I think he's terrific.
Yeah, well, you're right.
I don't think he's as good as Okuda, but I don't think there's as big a gap as people think.
Well, Okuda is a little bit more highly regarded right now, but you never know when they get to the pros. You just don't.
C.J. Henderson is an elite cover guy and a supreme athlete, an SEC product, and just a really good player. I think he goes in the top 10 of this draft. I think his name gets called very early on Thursday evening. So let's get to my mock draft. We went through the NFC East. We looked at some news and notes. I got a 2-round mock here to close out the show. We'll just kind of kick it around. We'll take your comments. Be sure to share us on Facebook, on Instagram, Periscope. Stream us on Google Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Spreaker. Rosca's in the house. What's up, Rosca? You're just in time for Brinkman's mock draft. Brad, no surprises here. I think we talked about it at length enough. Joe Burrow is the top pick. I think Joe Burrow is a lock to be a franchise quarterback, Brad. He's got all the tools to be better than a lot of current quarterbacks in the league.
Well, he looks like a gifted quarterback. But let's be honest, though. His receivers in the NFL are not going to be as wide open as they were in college. So, I mean, he's going to have
no.
You have to kind of just take a little bit of a step back. But I agree with you. He looks like he's the real deal. I mean,
underrated athlete.
Oh, he's a terrific athlete. He's a great runner too. Boy, the mobility that guy has. I mean, he could really be good.
You're not boxed into starting him right away because you still have Andy Dalton, even though I think he's a better player, even as a rookie, than Andy Dalton. But I think this really
you don't have to rush him.
Bengals up for.
You don't have to rush him, but you know what? You may want to get him in there early because the fans are going to probably want to see him. Because I mean, if they start Dalton, and the Bengals have only scored 3 points at halftime, the fans are going to be all over their fans are going to be all over the coach to get him out of there and put in Burrow. So
you have Joe Burrow at the top. I've yet to read a mock draft that didn't have Joe Burrow.
No, I agree with you.
Top overall. Number 2, the Washington Redskins. I have them taking Chase Young. DeMatha Guy. Ron Rivera is a defensive coach. I think that just really makes sense.
The only way that doesn't happen is if they trade down.
Number 3, you trade away Darius Slay. Go get Jeff Okudah. Then you have Jeff Okudah and Desmond Trufant. And then you have a pretty good corner tandem despite trading Darius Slay. That's another.
That seems to be the conventional wisdom. At four with the Giants. I mean, I'm hearing a lot about Wirfs, and Simmons. I would go with the defensive player, but I wouldn't be annoyed if they drafted an offensive lineman. I'd be okay with that too. I don't want a receiver. We don't need to be getting receivers right now. We've got to build either a defensive line or an offensive line and control the ball.
I mean, Wirfs seems to be the most popular mocked pick besides Simmons. I like Simmons here. I like adding to that linebacker core and that 4-3, or excuse me, the 3-4. You have Blake Martinez, you have Connolly, and now you have Isaiah Simmons.
And Cockrell, who's the other one that they brought over from Green Bay, who they're very high
on. Bill Middlebrook thinks the Eagles should take Judy or Lamb. They need a lot.
I think unless they move up
with a great running back is already a start. I mean,
they need to move up into the teens.
They're going to need to move up, Bill.
Guys, yeah, they got to get up to at least. They have to get up to at least 15 if they want to
9.
Get 4.
You got to get up to. I think you got to get up. You got to get above the Jets at 11.
Well, if you get to 15, you'll get one of those 4, though. If you're looking at,
I don't think so. That's not how I have the draft going.
I think, and it depends on how many if the quarterbacks
right, because I don't have quarterbacks going.
Right. If the 3
quarterbacks being pushed down the board and receivers and offensive linemen and such being pushed up the board.
Yeah, it really depends on Tua and Herbert. If those 2 guys are in the top 10, then you could probably move up to 15 and grab one of those guys. Which the Eagles might do. I mean, that's not too big of a jump, and you won't have to give up a tremendous amount of.
Let's see. I mean, look, we can mock draft any 7 ways to Sunday, but the only draft that matters is what's going to happen on Thursday night.
Absolutely.
So this is fun, but only one draft matters. 5th, this is where I have the draft getting shaken up a little bit. I have the Miami Dolphins taking Andrew Thomas. I think he's the best tackle in the draft out of Georgia. I think you solidify your left tackle position and you go from there. I think you get – if I'm a GM in the NFL, I'm trying to hit a double. If I have a top 5 pick like the Dolphins do, the Giants do, the Lions, the Bengals, and the Redskins do, you don't necessarily need to hit a grand slam, Brad, but you can't strike out. You take Andrew Thomas. I think he's the best tackle in the draft. It's a solid double off the wall, day 1 starter, and you go from there. You need a lot in Miami.
A bad pick either. The guy from Alabama.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Jedrick Willis wouldn't be a bad player.
Yeah, he's good too.
Wirfs is
right tackle though. If I'm going to draft a tackle that early, I'd like him to have left tackle experience. Anthony Addes, Eagles and Browns are talking about a Eagles trade getting 101 pick and Browns get 21st and 53. 10th pick, 21 and 53 for 10. I don't know if I like that, Anthony. Bill was talking about the Giants in his last post. Seen a lot of Giants surprising everybody and snagging Judy.
I don't see
I
it.
think that's the best use. I don't think that's the best use of the Giants' draft capital, but
I don't see Gettleman drafting a receiver. I really don't. I mean, the one thing he said when he came to New York was that he loves his hog mollies. And the hog mollies are the offensive line and the defensive line. He really hasn't addressed the defensive line at all in free agency. So I see him doing something to help the pass rush because
and then maybe they got a trade already worked out, and they're going to end up with Derek Brown or something a little bit later on in the top 10.
and that wouldn't be a bad thing either. As I said,
I think that guy's a beast.
Yeah, if I can get a second round pick and get him, I'd be quite happy with that. Or even if they went down and ended up getting some of these other offensive tackles, as I said, like Wills, you could probably get Wills around 8 or 9. That wouldn't be a bad move either. Let's just say they trade with the Jaguars. Okay, the Jaguars want to go and try to grab Herbert at 4, which they might do. They could go down and they could probably draft a guy like Wills. That wouldn't be a bad move for them.
All right, moving right along on Brinkman's mock draft. It's a 2-round mock draft, taking you to the end of the show on NFL Draft Week. Finally have something to look forward to in the world of sports. But I shook it up a little bit at 5 with Andrew Thomas. I'm going to shake it up again at number 6 with the Chargers taking deep threat CeeDee Lamb. It's a little bit of a wild card pick, but I think you do your best to surround Tyrod Taylor with as much talent as you can, and you draft a Love, an Eason, a Fromm, a Tua, or someone like that, a developmental quarterback like that, to sit behind Taylor and have them be the quarterback of the future. So I like CeeDee Lamb at 6. I also think CeeDee Lamb's an excellent complement to possession receiver Keenan Allen, tight end Hunter Henry, and out of the backfield threat Austin Eckler. So I think that
he would be a nice pick, no doubt.
I just think the Chargers have a really good chance to rebound next year. They lost a lot of close games. They had a lot of injuries. So
they did.
Of all these teams in the top 10, I think the Chargers are most likely to be much improved and maybe make the playoffs next season.
Yeah, Bill seems to think that the Giants are going to snag Judy. I don't know.
I don't think that's the best use of the Giants draft capital. Jerry Judy's a great player, so it wouldn't.
Judy, no, I'd be happy to have Judy. I think the Giants would be better off if they went offensive line or defensive line. I just at this point, I think they need to build their lines. I mean, Judy is kind of the kind of guy. If they had a reasonably good defense and needed some help on offense, then I would go in that direction. But the Giants' offense was pretty good last year. I mean, even with a rookie quarterback, they scored enough points to win more than 4 games. Their defense just killed them. I mean, they couldn't stop anybody when it counted last year. I mean, even the Redskins, last game of the season, they had a 35-21 lead in the fourth quarter with under 5 minutes to go, and the Redskins bang got 2 touchdowns and tied it up. And then Jones had the big drive in overtime to win the game. But I mean, that's just an example of how bad the Giants' defense is, and to me that was sending a clear message that they've got to upgrade their defense.
Anthony Addis thinks the Chargers should go defense. If they go defense, that's fine. Don't go quarterback. I hope the Chargers don't go quarterback at 6. I hope they get a player that can start right away and make an impact. Bill Mitterbook, I'm all for swapping the Jags at 9 or Browns at 10 for our first, 4th, and a future first. We just can't give up that 2nd. I mean, whatever. I mean, if you're giving up all them picks, you might as well throw in the 2nd too. I mean, whatever.
I think
I'm against the Eagles. I'll say it again. I'm against the Eagles making a big move up this draft board. I think they have too many needs to address. They're not one player away from being legitimate Super Bowl contenders. I think you got to get 2 to 3 impact players out of this draft or trade. You need to acquire somehow, whether it's draft picks or trading for established veterans. You need 2 to 3 impact guys for me to feel confident about this team contending for a championship next year. Moving right along.
As they're currently built, they're good enough to win the division, but they're not going to go.
I don't see this team making noise in the playoffs as conducted.
They're not going to.
I need to see more.
Yeah, they need to get an impact player.
Moving right along, pick 7 with Carolina. I have them picking Derek Brown. Nose tackle out of Auburn. I think he's a beast. 8th pick, I have Jederick Wills going to the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals already have a left tackle in DJ Humphries, so a natural right tackle would be a really good fit. Plus, Wills has a lot of experience blocking for dual threat quarterbacks like Kyler Murray would be.
And Murray would need some time because he's got 2 really good receivers.
3 really. They have Fitzgerald, Hopkins, and Christian Kirk, who I think is the forgotten man.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
9th, I have C.J. Henderson going to the Jaguars. They trade away Jalen Ramsey, so they get Henderson. I like Henderson's athleticism. I like that Henderson played in the SEC, and I like Henderson's coverage skills.
You think he's going that high?
I think he's a really good player, yeah. And I think the Jags need a lot. So
yeah, that they do.
I think there's very, very low chance that C.J. Henderson is a bust. So I think it's a safe.
Hard to say though exactly who they're looking at. The Jags are a weird team. I mean,
well, they suck.
Yeah, but they never do what they should be doing. I think they should be looking at a quarterback. To be quite honest with you, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not sold on Gardner Minshew at all. So, I mean, I know you like him, but I mean,
I like him. I wouldn't say I'm sold on him.
Yeah, I don't know that
Gardner Minshew is winning a Super Bowl anytime soon.
I mean, I don't know that he's the kind of quarterback. I don't even know if he's a 500 type of quarterback.
I mean, we'll have to see on that. I think he did some encouraging things as a rookie, and we'll have to see how he progresses.
Yeah, where did he play his college football? Was it Missouri or one of those colleges?
Who's that? Sorry, I was reading comments.
Gardner Minshew. Where did he?
I think he went to Washington State.
Okay. All right, because I don't know about him. I mean, he wasn't a first-round pick. It's not like
he was a 6th-round pick.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's not like he has. It's not like he had the.
Well, if you want to go, because I think that they're loading up. Them and the Dolphins are loading up for Lawrence.
Yeah, but you can't. Really,
I know you can't. Trust me. I watched it with the Sixers and how it didn't work there.
You can't really tank in the NFL because if you start tanking in the NFL, nobody's going to want to play for you.
Well, nobody wants to play for the Jaguars anyway, so I guess they figure they have to.
Well, I understand that, but you know what? If they put together, if they're able to get something going down there and get some decent players down there, draft some decent players, get them to bring in maybe a quarterback, which I think is what they should be doing. I think they should be trying to get a guy like Herbert or even Tua.
But why don't you just sign Winston or Cam Newton?
Because those guys, by the time they get good, those guys are going to be too old. That's the problem. Jacksonville at this point is probably 3 years away.
All right. Well, I like C.J. Henderson there at 9. Then 10, I like Wirfs going to the Browns. I think they need offensive line help.
In the worst way.
Wirfs is I think he's pretty solid. Big Ten guy, Iowa guy. They have a pretty Ferentz over there. He produces pros. They're very well coached and their track record's pretty good of late. So I would feel very comfortable spending a top 10 pick on Tristan Wirfs.
Love Jeff Judy with the Jets. That's
11th. That's a slam dunk. Jerry Judy.
I think that's where the Jets are going.
Let Darnold get his guy there.
Yep.
They could go Ruggs, but I would go Judy. And then I have Ruggs going right behind Judy at 12 to the Raiders. Raiders need speed, and the Raiders need a game breaker.
Yeah, he would be perfect in that spot.
13, the Niners. I expect a trade here. I didn't do trades with my mock draft. Too much to think about.
Why don't they? Well, I mean, based on what you've been talking about, I think Jefferson would probably be the.
I have Javon Kinlaw going here, defensive tackle out of South Carolina. They went to the Super Bowl based on having strong play in the trenches. They trade
Because they didn't really have any good receivers other than their tight end.
well. They had Debo Samuel and uh, they had Emmanuel Sanders. Obviously, Emmanuel Sanders.
He's gone now, so that's what I'm saying. I think they might be.
I don't know. I just think you trade Buckner to the Colts. You replace him with Kinlaw. You maintain your dominance in the trenches because I think Kinlaw is pretty good.
Okay, yeah, that would work.
Who's 14? This is the one that got the most resistance on Facebook when I posted it. 14, I have Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson working with Brady out of the slot. I think that's just too good an opportunity to pass up. You double down on your offense. You go score a lot of points. You try and make the playoffs that way. You have other picks in this draft to address your offensive line and your defense. So,
the one thing they do have defensively is they have one hell of a defensive line.
They're good.
They have a good pass rush.
It's not bare here. So, this was not some 3-13 team with Jameis Winston last year. They were 7-9 with Jameis Winston throwing 30 interceptions. So you get Tom Brady in there. I mean,
he's not going to throw that many interceptions, and Tampa Bay's got a pretty good offensive line.
They need offensive line help, but I mean, I like some of the offensive line talent you can get past the first round. So it'll be their offensive line is going to be okay. You take Jefferson here. He's by far I think he's a top 10 player in the draft. You're getting him at 14. You let him run the slot with Tom Brady. Look at what Brady did with Welker. Look at what Brady did with Edelman. Look at what Brady did with Troy Brown. All these other slot receivers he's made famous over his whole career. I think Jefferson could be the next in that line. You go to 15th with Denver. I posted Grant Delpit from LSU. I don't really like that pick. I'm going to change it to Kenneth Murray, linebacker out of Oklahoma, for the 15th pick. 16th, I had
the Falcons. Probably, they need it. They need a defensive lineman.
So. Yeah, there's an edge rusher out of LSU, Kavion Chasen.
Yeah, I would think that he probably.
That seems like a pretty logical fit there.
Yep.
I heard the Jets drafting an offensive lineman. I mean, that'd be fine. They signed 3 offensive linemen.
That's why I don't think they're going to draft one in the first
round.
So
I think that really opens it up.
They're going to get a receiver. I think that's a lock.
That opens it up for them to get a weapon for Sam Bradford.
I think that is
Sam Bradford. Sam Darnold, excuse me.
Sam Darnold. Please don't insult him like that.
Yeah. Not sure if Sam Darnold's all that in a bag of chips like everybody thinks, but
Sam Darnold was 6-3 last year, though, Rob.
He's certainly better than Sam Bradford.
Yeah, and last year he was. Keep in mind, he was 6-3. The team went 7-9 because they were awful before he got back from having mono.
Right, and then 17, you got the Cowboys. Now the Cowboys are an interesting team, Brad, because I think they have a number of needs. And I think that this pick could really set up what happens the rest of the first round. I have them replacing Travis Frederick with Cesar Ruiz. He's a center out of Michigan. I think he's just a badass Michigan offensive line prospect that's just going to – you take him, you put him at center. He's the perfect replacement for Frederick. And if he's as good as everyone thinks, I don't think you miss a beat up front with Ruiz in there instead of Frederick. So I think that, but they could go safety. They could trade the pick for Jamal Adams. They could take a receiver. They could take a corner. I don't know what the Dallas is going to do. The more and more I think about the Cowboys, the more and more I think that the Giants are going to finish ahead of them in the NFC East.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Did you see that jackass Dak Prescott had a party at his house during
I heard.
the old quarantine?
Yeah, you know what? When Dallas offered him $35 million, he said he's got to feed his family.
Are you kidding me?
Dude, you don't
How's he paying for the dinner party during the quarantine if he can't even feed his family?
Yeah, $35 million. He's got to feed his family for 30.
See, now that's just a tone deaf statement.
Yeah, that's not something you want to say. That's just gonna saying something like that is just gonna make everybody think you're an idiot. So,
All right, but here's an interesting one. Bill Middlebrook has a draft gambling question. Obviously, there's nothing to gamble on right now. There's a lot of action.
You can bet horses, I think.
You can, but I mean, same as betting on baseball and March Madness and stuff like that.
I understand, but Bill, if you really need your fix, you can always bet on the horses. And you can go.
You actually know your stuff when it comes to horses.
Yes, I do.
When it comes to horses.
Yes, I do. I can hand
the over under on receivers in the first round is 5.5. 5.5.
I go under. I think there's going to be 5 receivers in the first round.
I have 5 going as well, so I have under.
Yeah, I have 5. I have 5 myself. I don't see more than that.
All right, then moving through the first round here, I have the 18th pick. I have Justin Herbert at 18. I think that's a good value. I think that's about where Justin Herbert should go. It's a lot to like with Justin Herbert.
Oh, with the Dolphins?
To the Dolphins at 18. So then I have the Dolphins getting left tackle, Andrew Thomas, and their quarterback, Justin Herbert. I like Justin Herbert. I'm much more at ease picking Justin Herbert at 18 than I am at 5. We're trading up to get him higher than 5.
You might be right. Who would have thought last year that the Ohio State quarterback would have been drafted at 13?
Yeah.
And everybody had with Haskins, right? I mean, everybody had him in the top 5. And he went all the way down to 13. Everybody also said he would be the first quarterback picked. And he wasn't. And you know what? I think some of these guys were right, because Haskins really did not look good until actually the Eagle game. He played pretty well against the Eagles. He was playing well against the Giants as well until he got hurt. He started playing a little bit better towards the end of the season, but still, the point is that's it. I mean, I would, Bill, for your bet, I would go under 5.5.
Yeah, I have 5 in the first round.
Yeah.
You got 19th. You got the Raiders. I have them taking Xavier McKinney, the safety out of Alabama. Number 20, I made a change there. So now I have Grant Delpit going to the Jaguars at 20. So they double up on the secondary. They get Delpit and CJ Henderson. Then you got the Eagles at pick 21. Now, all the receivers are gone if you've been paying attention to the picks. Jefferson's gone at 14. Ruggs is gone at 12. Judy's gone at 11. And
I think they go for Xavier McKinney.
Okay, he just got picked though, but I just get picked by the Raiders. But that'd be a fine selection.
I think he's going to go that low. I still think the Raiders are going to get a receiver. But
they get a receiver at 12. They have 2 picks, the Raiders.
Oh, 2 picks. Okay. Now
they have 12. They have 12 and 19. So they get Ruggs at 12.
Yeah, they could use a corner too, though, the Raiders. What about like a guy like Jalen Johnson?
Yeah, from Utah. I have him going 31st to the Niners.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the Raiders maybe going for him, and then it would open it up for McKinney to the Eagles. I think that's where they end up. And if they get him, I think that would be a very good choice.
Now, that brings us to the Eagles at 21. Now, if this is the board where I can't get one of my 4 receivers. I am trading this pick to try and go get Yannick. I want to get Yannick. I want to get my established star. I want to get my all-pro caliber edge rusher, 24 years old, sets me up for the next 5 to 7 years at the edge rushing position. Now, I would want to do that by still holding on somehow to the 53rd pick in the draft. So I give up 21. Maybe I gave up the 3rd round as well. Maybe I throw in a 1 next year. Maybe I throw in a player or 2. But I'm trying to get young.
I think what it would cost you is a 1 and a 3 this year and a 1 next year.
I would do that for Yannick.
I think that would be a fair trade for for Jacksonville if they're going to do that. If the Eagles are willing to do that, I
would do that. If I can't get Jefferson, I can't get Lamb, I can't get Judy, and I can't get Ruggs. That's what I'm exploring to do with the 21st pick.
Yeah, keep in mind though, with these receivers, though, Rob. You mentioned that they're $27 million under the cap, correct?
Yes.
All right. Well,
they can afford to extend Yannick. Is why that's important.
Well, no. The other thing though is, as far as the receivers go, they're in June 1st, I believe, is when the roster bonuses are due. Correct?
Maybe something like that.
I believe June 1st is like a day when a lot of teams have to pay roster bonuses. Usually you get a whole series of cuts at that point. I think you could see some decent receivers available via free agency. And usually those guys, you can get them at a bargain price because they want to hook on with somebody. They don't want to be spending too much time, being out of the NFL. So, if worse comes to worse and you can't get a receiver that you really like, there could be value.
I can get a receiver at 53. I think.
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, look, you can get receivers 3rd, 4th round.
I do have quite a big run on receivers here in the 2nd round. But
there were a lot of really
that's what I'm trying to do with my 21st pick. If I can't get one of these big time receivers, I'm trying to do whatever it takes to get Yannick in my building.
And if
I keep the pick, I'm picking a receiver. I'm picking Jalen Reagor out of TCU. I think he's more valuable with Carson than a linebacker like Queen would be, or an edge rusher like Matos or Espenza would be. But Yannick is the established star. I would have no problem giving up 2 1s and a 3 for Yannick if all my receivers are out of commission, which I predict they will be. I would also, if all those receivers are off the board, I'm also hitting up Cleveland, checking on the availability of Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, he's another one.
Now I'm getting myself all excited. I'm like, wow, we could get Yannick and Odell out of this draft and not have to roll the dice on any of these rookies because Howie stinks at drafting. That's the ideal scenario.
What is Yannick making this year, though?
Well, he's going to be on the franchise tag, so whatever that is, I'm sure it's close to $20 million for a pass rusher.
Beckham is like 16.5, 17 mil, something like that.
Yeah, but that's fine. I have a GM that can figure out the cap.
But I think though that if Cleveland trades him, they would be responsible for a part of that cap hit, and the Giants actually, I think, will still be responsible for part of that cap hit as well. So I don't think the Eagles would be paying. I don't think they'd be responsible for the entire $16.5 million cap hit.
Point being, to summarize, so we move on to some other picks here. If you can't get a big 4 receiver, go get Yannick. Go get an established veteran. We're in win now mode in here in Philadelphia. Let's get it done.
The only problem with Yannick is that there's a lot of other teams who draft ahead of the Eagles who may have more draft capital. But that's
Gongo's 951. That would be a horrendous deal. The Eagles are $25 million over the salary cap next year right now. Yannick would put us $40 million over. That's completely incorrect. The Eagles are $27 million under the salary cap right now. I don't care what it looks like next offseason. Howie will figure that out like he always does when that time comes around. It's not a horrible deal to get Yannick in your building. He's 24 years old. He might be the best 4-3 edge rusher in the entire league. So I don't understand how it's a horrendous deal to go get an established star instead of taking a guy like Jalen Reagor or a guy like Patrick Queen, guys who look good on paper, but no one knows how they're going to be. I know Yannick's a stud. I know Yannick's a Pro Bowler. So I don't understand how that's a horrendous deal to get Yannick Ngakoue in your building. And don't give me cap figures for not right now in the future. Because Howie Roseman that specializes in that.
What did the Raiders get for Khalil Mack?
Bunch of picks. I mean,
okay. Well, I'm just saying. Geez. You figure. What did they get? 2 first-round picks.
Yeah, like a 3 was there.
So the Eagles, but the Eagles aren't going to have would again. They would probably give them a couple of picks this year, and maybe a pick or 2 next year.
And that's fine. I'm in.
I agree with you because he's as I said, they need an impact player defensively, and they really need one offensively. I think if Cleveland does decide to move on from Beckham, I think that's the guy they should try to go get.
It seems like Odell Beckham Jr. is not going to be on the Browns next year.
Well,
too much smoke for there not to be a fire there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if him and Baker can kiss and throw up. And then
would you relax, Gongos? Like, why are you talking about the cap 2 years from now? You got to win a Super Bowl now. Yannick helps you do that.
Oh, you can't look at 2 years from now.
You're worried about cap casualty. You're backing off to Jason Hargrave being the Warren Sapp.
But 2 years from now, you probably won't have. You're not going to have Kelsey.
Maybe you don't give 3 years, $39 million to get another defensive tackle if you're worried about the cap.
Yeah, there's always guys you can cut.
I don't get it. Like, and who says you extend Ertz? Who says you extend Ertz? You have Goddard. Why are you going to pay a 31-year-old tight end to be the best tight end in the league? I mean,
you want to make
Rude and Callis.
If you do that, though, you better make sure you have another offensive player who can pick up the slack.
This is why you have to draft well.
Well, yeah, I
can't get into worrying about being in cap hell a year from now. I don't care. I care about this upcoming season and winning a championship now. I have a franchise quarterback in his prime. I have a coach who's done it before. I have a pretty good offensive line. I have a pretty good defensive line. I have a good defensive coordinator. All the pieces are lined up for the Philadelphia Eagles to win now. So, and I understand you're talking about next year. I don't care about that. I'm not a cap guy. I want to win football games. I don't care about the cap. So, I mean, moving on with the mock draft 22, Christian Fulton, cornerback out of LSU. 5-star athlete. Really, really a good player out of LSU. 3-sport athlete in high school. Really looked good at LSU. I think that's a pretty good get for the Vikings, who just lost Xavier Rhodes, who ceased to be a big-time player. Who's next? 23.
That would be the Patriots.
23 is the Patriots.
I could see them picking Tua. I can really see that.
That would be a decent pick. I don't have Tua going here. I have the Swiss Army knife defensive back Antoine Winfield going here. I think that's a guy Bill.
I'm hoping the Giants get in the second round.
Right. I mean, you could. I mean, that's of all the picks.
He's the one I want the second round. I mean, if the Giants could find a way to nab him in the second round, that would be.
I mean, 23 is a little high for him. according to the internet mock drafts. But I mean, this was my mock draft. I don't know. I just think he's a good player, and I think Bill would do well with him.
I think Bill needs a rusher, an edge rusher. I think maybe AJ Espenza might be.
Espenza could go there. The
He'd
Penn
be
State guy, Gratos Moss, he could go there. But I mean, I like Winfield there. Bill Middlebrook, Jags are set to get fleeced with Yannick because their backs are against the wall, and he needs to be paid. I like it, Rob. I'm all for giving them 24, a fourth, and a future, whatever. I mean, I've been saying the Jags have no leverage in trade talks with Yannick for weeks. I feel like
they have a little. They have a little
every
leverage.
time I say it.
Rob, they have a little leverage because other teams are going to be interested in him too. They have not made him available as yet. That's the
Right.
problem.
All these teams interested conspire and say, "Look, we'll trade for him, but you're not getting a first round pick."
Now that doesn't happen. There's always a fly in the ointment when you try to do that.
Well, yeah, ultimately someone will step up because they want a premier player.
Exactly.
And everyone knows Yannick wants out by Bob. So 24 is the Saints. I have Patrick Queen going there. Bill Middlebrook.
He would really help that team.
Yes, and the Saints.
Would be
the Saints have a loaded roster.
Yeah, that would be
the Super Bowl this year. They should just shut up forever.
Yeah, well, if they don't win this year, then they may never win again. After this year, they're going to be way over the cap, and they're going to have to get rid of a lot of these guys. So,
and then 25 is the Vikings again. I have Espenza going there, edge rusher out of Iowa. That replaces Everson Griffin.
They could also use a corner too.
Well, they got a corner at 22.
Okay, you picked a corner for them at 22. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe
defense, and then I think in the second round they address a replacement for Stephon Diggs. But Zimmer's a defensive coach, so I think you solidify your defense there. You stick to your strength, and I still think you have enough weapons there for Cousins to not pick a receiver in the first round.
Gotcha.
You still have Rudolph. Dalvin Cook's pretty good. Thielen's terrific. So.
Oh yeah, no, they're
okay there. They'll get one in the second round. What's it? 26 is the Dolphins. I have them picking DeAndre Swift, the only first round running back off my board. I do think he's the best running back in the draft.
I don't think the Dolphins are going with a running back, but I was kind of thinking that Isaiah Wilson would go there, and Swift would go down to
the tackle from Georgia. That's a good pick. I have him going a few picks later to the Titans.
Yeah, I would put Wilson. I would pick Wilson if I was Miami. I would try.
I already picked the tackle at 5 for Miami.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm just yeah. I mean, I like Wilson.
I'm looking at Seattle, and I'm thinking Seattle really could use a running back right now.
So Chris Carson, Brashard Penny, they're not doing it for you. That's a pretty good.
Yeah, but I think Swift. Yeah, he's probably the best running back in the country last year. You put him on Seattle, that would be pretty good. Now you could put an offensive lineman on Seattle too. They could use another offensive lineman, but I think if you had another running back, I think that team would be just very, very tough to stop.
Bill Middlebrook, no, I don't have the Vikings taking a receiver with either pick. I think that they need to get some horses for a defensive coach Zimmer, and I think they can easily get an impact receiver in the second round.
I think the Vikings need to beef up a little bit on the defensive line because
well, that's why I like Espenza there.
Yeah, the 49ers just basically push that defense around.
Right.
I haven't seen Minnesota's defense get pushed around like that in a long time. I mean, and you look at it, Minnesota's defense.
They had Rhodes that just fell off a cliff, and Griffin got older, and then all of a sudden you really don't have much dynamic talent there besides Harrison Smith, the standout safety.
Yeah, I just don't get what happened with Rhodes. That was crazy.
I mean, if you look at the second round, I have them getting a receiver out of Ohio State named KJ Hill. I think he's a perfect replacement for a guy like Stephon Diggs.
You can always get a receiver. I've been saying that, and it's true.
26. So last couple before we finish up. 27 Seattle. I have Mekhi Becton falling quite a bit here in the first round on my mock. I'm just not a fan. These guys that just work out well and have great measurables that just are all of a sudden top 10 picks. They make me nervous, but I think that's a good pick for Seattle there at 27. 28, I believe, is the Ravens.
Yeah, that would be the Ravens.
Who did I have the Ravens? I have the Ravens picking Marlon Davidson, a defensive end out of Auburn. 29 is the Titans. I have Isaiah Wilson, a tackle out of Georgia, getting picked there to replace Conklin, who went to the Browns in free agency. The
Packers next.
Green Bay. I have an interior lineman getting picked here out of Oklahoma, Neville Gallimore. I mean, seems like a good idea to beef up the interior of that defense after they got run on like that in the NFC Championship game. I mean, talk about getting pushed around, Brad.
Yeah, they did. Well, they got pushed around by the Eagles too, if you remember.
Yeah, I think they can
defensive line. They do need to upgrade their defensive line.
And I think that they can get Aaron Rodgers some new toys later on in the draft.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers has a habit of making everybody look good. So,
and then Jalen Johnson goes to the Niners, even though I think that pick will probably be traded. You get a hard-nosed corner like that. I think that's a no-brainer. And then the Chiefs, they get the defensive end out of Penn State for Spags. They can have their modified NASCAR package over there with Frank Clark and those guys.
That's a good pick for that.
That's the first round.
That's a real good pick for the Chiefs, by the
way. We are out of time here, but Brad, you didn't catch any of the Michael Jordan documentary last night?
No, I did not.
You should check it out. I know you're not a basketball guy, but I mean you should check it out.
Okay.
Boy, they hated that Krause. He was.
Nobody liked Krause, but you know what? Krause more than made up for his stupidity when he went out and brought in Robin.
Yeah, I mean he assembled it.
Yeah, and he also
assembled a loaded team. It seemed like he went out of his way to make everybody hate him.
Yeah, and he also brought in Kukoc. I mean, you know, if you're a fan, you love the guy because he was able to get all these guys in under the salary cap. And if you're a player, you hate him because the son of a gun was able to manipulate everybody. You know, he paid Jordan.
Well, everyone wants to criticize him for Scottie Pippen being so underpaid. But I mean, is Pippen signing a 7-year, $18 million contract in 1991?
Yeah,
isn't that Scottie Pippen and his representation? Or am I missing something?
No, you know what though? Scotty got his sneaker contracts. You know, don't cry a cry me a river.
I get it. And Scottie Pippen also went on to be on some really good Portland Trailblazers team that just couldn't beat Shaq and Kobe.
Right, and you know what? Scotty also, when he does sports memorabilia shows, he makes big money doing that now too. So I mean,
yeah, Bill, Scotty got hosed on his money because Scotty signed a bad contract. Scotty chose to get.
He wasn't get paid early in his career
for less money, so he would have security in case he got hurt.
Right,
he bet on himself.
Exactly. You know what? He did that, and you know what? Listen, all you have to do is turn to another sport like baseball and take a look at like what happened to Luis Severino. Okay, he went and signed that contract, that 4-year, $40 million contract. Missed most of last year, and then he has Tommy John surgery, and he won't be back.
It worked out. He's going to get paid $10 million a year to rehab.
Right. He would, but he
knows what's happening this year. There might not even be a season, and he's going to get a year of service time. So it worked out for Severino.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. You know, some guys, those kind of deals work out for, and sometimes they don't.
And then last thing before we go, how about Jordan dropping 63 in the Garden in 1986?
Oh, geez, we had to bring that up, huh?
What?
Jordan.
Yeah, Jordan. Yeah, and against the Celtics in 1986, he dropped 63 in Game 1.
Oh, against Boston. Oh, against the Celtics. Okay, I was going to.
No. I think his Knicks battles came later.
I remember he torched Starks and Knicks for 55 because the Knicks had held him to 18 points the previous game, and this was in the playoffs, and they had to go. That team back then, they always had to talk shit, and then all they did was make him pissed off, and comes back, gets 55 the next night.
Yeah.
All
right, so we got the draft, we got NASCAR and golf on the horizon, and we have the Michael Jordan documentary airing every Sunday. That'll do it for the Sports Hounds. We'll be back next Monday, same time, same place. A lot of draft reactions. We're going to try and
stay safe, everybody.
Try and score a guest for the family. Have a good week, everybody.
Okay.